episode.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined with Paddy and we have another special guest in the studio. So we're getting on in the world. Paddy, before we introduce this guest, let's just explain why we needed to get this guest on.
Yeah, we did a podcast there. One of our last podcasts was question and answers podcast. It was very good. Got some good feedback from it. But one of the questions that we were asked was, I think, is how are you motivated? How you stay motivated? And I struggled big time to answer it. You know, I kind of said what I was talking was a bit of rubbish.
We felt like we were making it up in a way, didn't we?
And I think you put out a small video there on your Instagram during the week. You were kind of thinking about it.
Yes,
and you kind of addressed it as your why.
Yes.
So, and I suppose going back again, when we started the podcast, we were kind of, mindset was a kind of the good idea we had behind the podcast and the mindset of a sports person and how much of it is mental versus physical. And I suppose that leads us into today's guest in the studio.
Yeah, basically I was looking at someone, I'd love to get someone on that is experienced in this and is trained in this.
Yeah.
So I was like, who could we get?
Yeah.
And to be fair, you said we don't have to go far.
No.
All we have to do is roll up Alice.
Sometimes the answer is straight under your nose. So we're joined today by my sister, Alice O'Brien, from band here. So Alice, welcome and thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, lads. I never thought I'd be on a podcast to do with sport because it's the least.
It's not to do with sport, Alice.
I know.
It's to do with mindset.
I'm not here to tell you about sport, I'm here to entertain.
Okay. Before we dive into the deep stuff, Alice, we may as well explain to our listeners your story.
Okay.
I know you qualified, your first qualification, you had plenty to, in fairness, yeah, but your first qualification is psychiatric nursing, so do you want to explain how you got into that?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm a psychiatric nurse since 1996, that's a long time.
Mm.
I've worked in many different wards. I suppose it's very hard. It's like yourself, don't you asking the question last week, what's your why? But sometimes the whys become very unclear, you know, when we start doing the hows of things. I started nursing and I started working on wards, lots of different wards, and then I found that I had more of a love for the kind of more psychological side of it rather than the actual clinical work. Now I worked in the clinical work for 15, 16 years. And then I did some postgrads in cognitive behavioural therapy and have found really that that's where my love is and that's where my passion is, I suppose. And so I kind of developed my studies there. So I'm a clinical nurse specialist in cognitive behavioural therapy with the Cantor Advanced Recovery team. So that's kind of a fancy way of saying, I suppose, I meet people on a one-to-one basis. Sometimes groups, but due to COVID, we have no groups, but one-to-one basis, and I go through their needs and their cognitive needs and that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm.
And can you just give us, like, without kind of, what is cognitive behavioural therapy? Like, can you give us kind of a Google search if I Googled what exactly would it be?
A colleague of mine described CBT to me one time as, well, sure, why are you studying that? That's only common sense.
Right.
And to be honest, it is, a lot of it is, that's kind of only common sense. But, you know, sometimes when we're struggling, our common sense is not very clear. We don't really know what our difficulties are. So cognitive behavioural therapy is exactly what it says. Our cognitions are our thoughts, our behaviours are what we're doing, and the therapy is the therapy part of it. So what is it that you're thinking that's affecting what you're doing?
Right.
That's either preventing you from doing something or causing you to do things that you don't want to do. Or put that on its head a little bit. What are you doing that's affecting your thinking, that's affecting your life?
Yes.
Basically. So, when you pull all of those things apart and you make them clearer, you can find solutions to a lot of your everyday problems, really. And I suppose deeper problems as well.
Yeah, because I suppose, and if you kind of put a sport twist on that, don't you? We kind of said at the start of our podcast, it's the mental aspect and the mental strength aspect, something you can train. Like, you can train your muscles, you can train your endurance. And I suppose now that we're talking about a professional in this area, there obviously is exercises and stuff that people can do to have a better outlook and a better kind of mental health. Would that be the right word to say? Or a more healthy mind type thing?
Yeah, and I know what you're saying there. Like, but maybe when you say there are exercises we can do, but sometimes it's not even quite. It's be more automatic in that. It's learning to examine what your thinking is really and why you're thinking it. So what am I thinking and why am I thinking it?
Is it kind of an awareness?
An awareness, yeah. And there are lots of different thinking styles that we all use that kind of can, I suppose, distort the reality that we're in. So one that sticking out for me very much, I suppose, Paddy, was when I listened to your first. I listened to all your podcasts, but the first one, you said...
It's okay if you didn't listen to them all, we forgive you.
Right. It might have been the first one, actually.
Right.
It could have been the second one, where a conversation occurred, and I suppose two things that you said was, well, there's no disappointment in sport.
Yeah.
There should be no disappointment in sport. I forget your words now.
Disaster.
So never use the word disaster in sport. Use the word disappointment.
Yeah.
So I suppose a story that I like to put stories to things. So say you're a fella and you're playing a match and on a Sunday evening and something goes very badly wrong and you end up being injured. And you come home and you say, "She's a disaster, like that's just such a disaster. Now the whole season's over. It's an awful disaster. Like I'm never going to get over this."
Yeah.
Monday morning rolls around and you're going to work. And your colleague says to you, "Well, how did the weekend go? How did you get on yesterday?" "Oh, I've totally enough of disaster altogether. I mean, like, I just, the whole weekend is ruined.
Yeah.
My whole future is ruined. I don't know what I'm going to do next." How is your colleague going to respond to that? Like, he's probably going to say, like, never enough for the week, like, we won't bother with him. So then, that fella says, "Well, my colleagues don't even want to talk to me. Like, I know they want to talk to me. Why would anyone want to talk to me? Sure, look at how boring I am. Look at how my life is a disaster."
Yeah.
Whereas the fella that comes off the pitch and says, "Jeez, I'm really disappointed, like, I'm after getting injured, this is very disappointing for me. How can I solve that now? What will I do?"
Yeah.
And he goes into work Monday morning and his friend says, "How do you get on?" And he says, "Well, I'm injured and I'm very disappointed. But I'm going to go down to the physio now and I'm going to see what he says." He's going to find that his relationships with his colleagues, with his family, with his friends are not affected.
Yeah.
And it's all, the situation is the same.
It's the
But the
mindset
mindset
behind the situation.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So I suppose in a nutshell, that's kind of what CBT does, is it's not actually a situation that makes us, upset or emotional or distressed or sad or angry. It's actually how we view the situation.
It's the outlook.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does.
I think
No, that's very true. When you see that I'll put it in the CrossFit background. Do you know how, put a workout, we'll move that towards a workout now.
Yeah.
Put whatever, something we're not good at, put pull-ups into a workout. Whereas you've athletes that look at that workout and say, "Jesus, it's a disaster, I can't do pull-ups." But it's very easy if you switch and say, "Right, I have an opportunity here now to get better at my pull-ups."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a mindset of it's probably, that mindset is fantastic and it helps you improve in all aspects. But like what I want to dive into with you, Alice, is there ways of training that mindset? And like, is there, because we remember we had a conversation, you asked me, which athlete would you prefer? Would you prefer the talented fellow with a weak mindset? Or would you prefer the less talented fellow with a strong mindset?
Mm-hmm.
No, I took the talented fellow with a weak mindset because I believe you can train. Like a more positive outlook, a stronger mindset, whereas you kind of weren't as sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at someone who deals with people that need help in this aspect, I'm just wondering, are there ways, are there tools, is it even possible
to
improve your mindset? Is there ways of actually trying to be more positive or coaching yourself to be more positive?
Yeah, I suppose it's interesting because, what I would have seen over the years, what I would have learned isn't it true to say we really value our present more than our future. So, when it comes to your type of stuff, they're working towards a goal. So, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for the next 6 months because I want to be the CrossFit champion.
Whatever, yeah, it doesn't
right?
matter.
So I'm going to start with you now in January, Donica, and I'm going to be the world champion in CrossFit next September, right? And I go in today and, oh my God, this is amazing. Look, this gym is brilliant. I'm definitely going to make it. The 2nd of January arrived, the 3rd of January arrived. We value our present more. So when it comes to habits, I always feel like, good habits, effective good habits, the positivity comes later, doesn't it? It comes down the road. So I'm going to go and train 8 days, 7 days a week, and it's in September, I'm going to feel great. Whereas if I just skip this workout, I really don't feel like it tonight. I'm going to feel really kind of better tonight. I'm not going to be as tired. I'm going to sit on my couch. I'm not worn out from pull-ups or whatever it is you do. So, we value our present more than our future. And I think we need to kind of learn that, the future will be the present at some point.
Yeah, that's gold, yeah.
Good habits, bad habits. So good habit is let's go for a run 3 nights a week. Bad habit is the couch and get a pizza. Like, if my sister...
So are you saying that your presence should be driven by a kind of an end result or a goal or something?
I suppose I'm kind of saying, and I'm a firm believer in this, like that, and again, I'm not a sports person, but I do feel that maybe there is no such thing as actual willpower. Maybe there's just a choice, then another choice, then another choice, and then another choice, until eventually all the choices come to a good result. So, if we just take one choice at a time, we'll eventually find that the willpower is much stronger and much better than we thought it was when we look back. I don't think it's making any sense.
No, definitely doesn't.
I suppose my point is, I really think as a species we're programmed to, again, value our present. So how do I feel good now? Well, I feel good now sitting in my warm sitting room, eating my pizza, and I'm going to go to bed nice and warm.
Yeah.
If I go down to the gym, well, I have to get in my car, I have to drive down where it's going to be cold. Okay, well, I might feel a bit better after it, but like right now I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of learning those things that, if I go to the gym and I think you really had a good one last week, Donegal, you said 30 seconds of bravery. Let's just, maybe that 30 seconds of bravery has to be experienced 100 times in a day.
Yeah.
We actually that narrowed down to 20 seconds.
Right.
20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, nobody's saying that if I go to the gym tonight and I go through my 20 seconds of bravery and I get myself in there, I might still need to be brave tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah.
But another point on that, like, it's kind of related to that, I would think is, like, you would agree from your profession that exercise is good for your body and mind.
Yeah.
And that you have these, you probably know these
endorphins
that you release from the exercise, so it's good for you.
Yeah.
But like, I think we have, especially now, I'm not saying as people or as humans we're a bit soft, but like we'd say originally we would have been kind of hunter-gatherers, if you go way back.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, it's easier sitting on the couch and having pizza and not exercising because you're in the present thing, and you're not looking. But like, don't we need that little bit of hardship to be better?
Yeah.
So like, you need to exercise. It's fun if you like exercise, but it's a little bit painful. I'm out of breath and my muscles are sore, but it's good for me.
But I suppose if you look in terms of evolution and evolutionary kind of psychology, when we came from the caves, we were kind of programmed not to use up too much energy and try and store up as much food and kind of fat as we can, and not to exert ourselves too much because, we could be chased by the bear in the morning and then we need all our energy to survive.
Yeah, so living conservative.
But yes, and exactly what you're saying, a lot of the work that I do in CBT is trying to get people to behaviour activation, really is the way it is, Behaviour activation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to feel much better if I just get out for my walk, but not only because it's going to give me endorphins, but also because it's going to break that cycle of being sitting at home by myself.
Can I ask you a question then from your point of view is, so what is, I think you told me your inner voice, what's your self-narrative to the person who should be going to getting up off the couch and doing something?
Yeah.
What's the thought process, self-narrative? Like Donica would say there, I'm being a bit negative and I'm having a bad week and I want to get back into the positive zone.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us kind of what you would tell someone? What is the self-narrative, or is it, like, I'll ask you that question if that makes sense?
Yeah, I suppose self-narrative, we call it your thoughts as well.
Yeah. Your inner voice, I call it.
We all have these thoughts, but I suppose for me, I do a lot of work around, obviously, people's thinking. But, thinking is not a straightforward process. Oftentimes, a situation will occur, we'll filter it through our thoughts, and the situation will be different when we've done that in our heads, if you understand what I mean. So, like a lot of the different thinking styles, there's lots of them. Like, you could be catastrophizing, so you could imagine the worst possible outcome is definitely going to happen, and it's absolutely going to, there's no other way around it.
Is that a bit of paranoia type? Or?
No, I mean, the worst possible outcome, God, what kind of injuries do you get? I hurt my knee out cycling today. My career's over. That's definitely a massive injury. I'm going to need 4 operations to fix that,
Yeah.
But, where's your fact in that? That's your opinion. Comparing and despairing is a big one. So, seeing only the good and positives in others and then despairing against ourselves. Oh, sure, everyone below in that gym now is way, way better than me. They're not, everyone down in the gym has their own ability and nobody's better or worse than anyone else. You're only better or worse than your own self, really.
Yeah, and everyone down the gym had day one as well.
Yeah, Yeah. There's lots of different ones, like black and white thinking. It's either all or it's either good or it's bad. I either go for a 6-hour cycle today or don't go at all. I either, go to the gym 7 times a week or I just don't go at all because if I don't go 7 times a week, I'm not good. So it's looking at that kind of in your narrative, I suppose, in a way, is what is your thinking style that's filtering out the reality.
So you were saying, in my question, you can't kind of give a direct answer to a person because everyone's thinking process is different.
Well, I suppose, and you need to examine your own thinking process. And I suppose the big question that I always ask myself, and I think people should ask themselves, is what's the fact and what's the opinion here, like? Because the only truth in things are facts. Opinions are our own. Our opinions can be anything we want. So if you're in your narrative, just ask yourself, like, is that really true what I'm thinking? Is it really helpful what I'm thinking? Is there an alternative way of thinking? Maybe that can help you change your inner narrative and be more positive towards yourself.
I kind of think about that all the time, but I don't ask fact or opinion. I ask myself who's suffering. Okay. Do you know what I mean? What I mean by that is, like, when I was growing up, if someone said how you'd say a smart comment, and some people it would just be water off a duck's back. But then there was a time where I'd be thinking about that, like, 2 or 3 days later, I'd be thinking about that. What did he mean by that? But then I got to a stage, and I just asked myself, like, with all these thoughts, you ask yourself, who's suffering here?
Yeah.
It's not your man that said it, because he only thought it was a joke, and he's gone away, and he hasn't thought it.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm thinking about it for the next 3 days. And it's sticking with you, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're ruminating on that all the time. And not only
but that's what made me think about the facts and opinions.
You're not even thinking about what he's thinking. You're thinking of, what does he think about me? Then they all think that and everyone thinks so,
Yeah.
So it's always about yourself, really, isn't it? Like,
definitely,
it'd be kind of more healthy in your situation, that example, if you got angry with the fellow that said that about you.
Or if I just,
Most of the time you don't.
No, you take it on the chin. And then you have, No, definitely, But what I wanted to ask you about is that you just made me think there, compare and despair.
Yeah.
Is it when I can definitely I think people can relate a lot to that about through training, and I definitely can. Is if you take a scenario where in gym, there's always this thing called personal best, or personal record, and you go in and you do that's your best or whatever. Okay. But how do you look? What I find my problem is, when I look at, I went out now and I did a personal best of 100 kilo back squat. Whereas I should be saying, geez, that's great. Whereas I've been getting better, but I've had the thoughts, I know it's a personal best, but it's still 40 kilos lighter than such and such.
Yeah, so like the first part of what you're saying is great, because isn't that motivation to say, well, I want to be better than I was yesterday? Because that's the only thing really that we should be looking at and improving on is, what I did today. Like, I suppose tomorrow, I'd like today to be better than yesterday. That's all. I'd like to manage better, do better than I did yesterday. Anything else, it's not really helpful. But what you're saying then is, well, I want to be better than Johnny there. But Johnny has a different physical makeup. He's probably a different fitness level.
I understand, yeah.
He's probably more... Maybe next week, Johnny will be looking at you saying, well, I wish I was as good as him.
As an aspect, definitely, yeah. But they say, isn't that the same comparison as the thief for joy?
Yeah.
And what I always think is, I often see is, when someone, you work hard and you go and you buy your car, and then you are obsessed with your car. Geez, I'm so happy with it. But next thing then, your neighbour across the street gets a newer car. Then all of a sudden you just look like, there's a couple of weeks there, you just look at your car different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I suppose, can you imagine that now? No, you're younger than me, but growing up now, I imagine you just have to pick up your phone, it's in your pocket. And you can see that, okay, well, I love my little Skoda, but somebody else has a Mercedes. Or,
absolutely, yeah.
You're 16 and you've decided that you're going to take up cycling, and maybe it's not something you've ever really done before, and you've bought a lovely bike and you think everything is great, but you can pick up your phone and find that the fellow the same age as you, or twice as good as you.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, people grow up now in the show and tell.
Yeah.
I call it the show and tell era, because I could see my neighbour's car before because it was across the street.
Yeah.
Go back to your story. But I could see my buddy I went to college with his car above in Longford. Because you have, so comparative is not a great thing, is it really?
Yeah, I suppose
it has to be careful.
You can compare, but why not just try and compare yourself to you?
Yes,
That's your experience. So I'm going to compare myself to how I was a week ago, a month ago. That's not to say we should live in the past or that we can't change the past and we can't change the future. But maybe that's the way to look at it, is that, this time last year, I wanted to go cycling. And I couldn't cycle around the bog crosses doing I couldn't cycle around the bog cross. This time, I wouldn't even consider the bog cross because it's too easy for me.
Yeah.
So let's look at that instead of looking at when I roll out to go training with everyone and I see their wonderful bikes and their fabulous gear and all the great things they have. I can't control anything but I can control myself.
Yeah.
So
I bring it back to what I say. If you just ask yourself, like, who's suffering? Like,
that's a really good one. Yeah.
If you just you're flicking through Instagram and you see this fella in Dublin, 100,000 followers, and he's getting these sponsorships and endorsement deals, and it's actually making you feel bad. And you say, I'm suffering here watching this fella's post. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just unfollow him, like.
But I suppose really you kind of asked it. I was watching your. I don't know what it was on Instagram. I'd say.
What do they call that? Is it a vlog?
I think you were walking through the trees.
I was walking with 2 dogs. Yeah.
I don't know. But you were asking about what is your why, which is really good and it's very motivating. But sometimes we need to look at what kind of achievers are we. So there's kind of 2 categories. If you did the study on it, so you're a value achiever. So I'm a value achiever. I really value my achievement. So I value the fact that I don't know. I can lift. I don't know. How much do you lift? 40 kgs, I don't know.
Very
It's great and I can do it and I feel really good about myself and it's something that I've worked up to because this time 3 weeks ago I couldn't do it and I feel great that I've done that now. So I'm valuing the achievement of that.
My achievement.
Right. I feel good. I might come home and tell the wife and she'd think it's great and that's it. But that's my motivation, that's my why. I value that achievement. But if you're a need achiever, so I've achieved lifting the 40 kg, you have to put it on Instagram. And then when I put it on Instagram, I only got 10 likes.
Yeah.
But I've 300 friends. So how come none of the rest of them liked it? I'll put up another picture tomorrow to say that I lifted 5 kg. And so that's where my motivation is. That's my why. I'm a need achiever. So I need to be validated by others. And I suppose we're not saying that a person has to be A or B. You don't have to be a value achiever or a need achiever. But maybe ask yourself, why do I feel so good about this? Do I feel good because it's something that I worked towards and I really wanted to achieve? Or do I feel good because I got 50 likes on Instagram or I'm able to tell everyone this is what I've done or, I'm after, you know what I mean? There's a picture on Facebook and there's a picture on Instagram and everybody knows about it. So therefore I'm being validated that way.
Yeah.
I don't know, that kind of...
No, that makes sense, but that depends on the individual, I suppose, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you could be both, there's no reason why you couldn't be both. And there's nothing wrong with looking for validation from other people. We would hate for people to feel that what they were doing was wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone is... People are complex. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
But maybe that's some way of, looking at that for yourself. And maybe we need to swing ourselves a little bit maybe more towards being a value achiever initially.
I would agree totally. Yeah. I think I'm actually my mindset or my process of thinking has definitely changed because I was all I would say my goals were all reward based. I want to win this. I want to play for this team. I need to squat this much. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes down to it, I could ask yourself, if I don't achieve that, do you know what? I don't really care. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So then it's if there's obviously something isn't. Because I wanted to play for Cork. And then I got to 70 years of age and it's if I don't play for Cork, I don't really care if I don't play for Cork.
Well, I suppose a good phrase that I've heard is, it might be an old one, but the measure of a man is in the Monday morning. And maybe it's looking at that. So
not much of a man.
I don't do Monday morning.
Yeah. The measure of a man is not, I suppose I could ask you a question because we are 2 very distinguished sports stars and you know what it's like to be up here high. I'm sure you've had people cheering you and you've been in the high. Most people are only in the average.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So most people don't know what that's like. So how do you kind of make the ordinary work for you? So I know, what I mean, the measure of the man being in the Monday morning is you can reach your goal and reach your successes, but you'll be remembered for the things you did on the Monday morning. You know, your kids will remember the things you did with them. Your colleagues will remember the nice conversations. People will say, oh, he was a sound fella. They won't ever kind of say, oh, he's the fella now that won all the Ireland.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They will say, you know, Jesus, you're nice, that fella.
Yeah.
You know, and is that something that's maybe more important?
100% is, yeah.
But I think you get maturity too, like, because
I was just going to say,
if I was to think of 17-year-old Paddy who would have used the word disaster for cycling races and stuff, whereas now, Jesus, no, I wouldn't use that at all, and it's easy for me. And you learn that, you grow up. You grow up and would say, no, me being a parent and that, you change. And I think you change for the better. But that's why I'm saying, like, a person like me now should be kind of almost doing a bit of coaching and doing a bit of hinds, because it's very easy. Like I kind of like said, someone else, you should kind of get into the helicopter and fly over yourself and look down at yourself that way and see that, look, that's not so bad. That's not a disaster. Let's go and move on. Whereas if I was to say that to you, were at home when I was 16, 17, the world went around your performance and your cycling, but I think you grow up, you know, and then you have a lot of kind of information. We touched on it last week. A lot of information and knowledge now, so you can learn from things better, because you can watch Eddie Dunbar's reaction to a race in France, whereas 20 years ago you didn't have that. Or you can watch, you know, Anthony Nash interview after a match, and look, well, that's what Anthony's thinking there now after losing a match or after winning a match. Same with Eddie Dunbar was, I think that he didn't. No, that's going a bit.
But it's interesting, and it's a good way of describing it. But I suppose we do need to be very careful that we value our own lived experience. All this information is wonderful, and it is great to be able to see, you know, like I said there, how Anthony Nash fell off the pitch and how Eddie Dunbar managed. That's Eddie Dunbar and that's Anthony Nash, not you. And it's really easy to kind of...
It's going back to the comparative again, isn't it? Like, you know...
So your lived experience is your experience, and as I say to everyone, the only expert on you is you. So if it's not right for you, if you feel you could do better, then that's okay. But if you only want to do better because somebody else did better, are you ever really going to be better, because you're going to keep moving your goalposts all the time, because you're going to base it on somebody else's experience? Have trust in your own lived experience first, and what's right for you, and motivate yourself that way.
Okay.
Can I ask you, what do you define as success? If you know, how would you know that I'm successful? You know what I mean? Successful varies from person to person.
Yes.
But how would you?
I suppose it depends on a person's morals, doesn't it, and values. And, you know, that's a very good point, because people that will come into me, and when you start working with them, they'll actually gradually start saying, well, actually, I do feel like I'm a success because what's important to me, I have achieved. You know, so I suppose you really need to look into yourself and ask yourself, what are my own morals? What are my own values? What would I like to see my kids growing up into? You know, what parts of me would I like to see in my own children, or in myself? Like success, that's a very hard question to ask anyone, or to answer for anyone, because success is so individual, isn't it?
It is definitely,
you know?
But have you, not to ask you anything too personal, but have you come across people that the success is always material?
Yeah.
And if you kind of have your ways to say, look, maybe this isn't the healthiest. Do you know, the success is the new car, the success is the new shoes. It's all this material stuff.
Yeah, and I have, but I suppose maybe that might be some of the reason why people engage in therapy or come and decide that they need some kind of psychological help in some way, is because they've actually realised that themselves, that, you know, I keep striving for something, but I can't reach it. And the reason I can't reach it is because I keep moving it. Yeah. So it's like as if we could start looking at, I'll be happy when, you know, I'll be happy now when I have a new house. Yeah, but when the new house arrives, after a while you start saying to yourself, well, I'll be happy now when we have the conservatory as well. I'll be happy when I can run 25 miles in marathon pace. But maybe when that happens, you still won't be happy.
I understand.
If you stop asking yourself those questions, I'll be happy when, and just start looking at, well, I'll be happy now. Is there anything in my life I could be happy about now? Because if you keep saying that, I'll be happy when, the wind will keep moving. You know, the aim will keep moving, because you are moving it. It's you are going.
No, they do say, you know, but it's a balancing act, isn't it? They say in relation to training, all that, you know, never be satisfied. That's okay. In that you have that kind of motivation. You cannot always push it and stuff. But maybe it isn't. I do believe that you should be happy and content. Mm-hmm. but tis not to get too, maybe don't get too
That's a
comfortable.
very good point. Yeah, where is the comfort zone? Because nobody ever, as they say, comfort zone is a great place, but nothing ever grows there. You know,
very good, yeah.
So looking at, I suppose, the Goldilocks effect, which is, I didn't come up with that, I'm afraid, I wish I did. There's a very good book. Goldilocks.
It's a good book.
It's a good book. I really enjoyed it. I even read volume 2. No, there's a book, Atomic Habits. It's from John Clear, and it's actually a very good book.
What's the book you were telling me about?
Yeah, so if anyone gets a chance and they're interested in this kind of stuff, Atomic Habits is the book to have. But he talks about the Goldilocks effect. So the Goldilocks effect means, it's not too hot, not too cold. We know the story. You've read the book, probably. Yeah. Goldilocks. Great. So, peak motivation will only occur when we're on the edge of our current abilities. We're not too far away. If we're very, very far away from what we can currently achieve, then we're just going to give up. But if we're below what we can currently achieve, like you say, it's the comfort zone. Nothing will happen in the comfort zone. So we need to be just, we'll say...
You say we kind of need to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
But not too far into being uncomfortable, because if you're too far being into uncomfortable, you're not going to sustain it. Yeah. So...
You see it a lot with, weight loss, don't you? You say, I got to lose 6 pounds. Mm-hmm. Head down, they lose the 6 pounds. And then it's almost like, ooh, achieved that, job done. Mm-hmm. 6 months later, then the weight is put back on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you're just pushing yourself enough, so, let's look at it. So you just mentioned their weight loss. That's really good. But if you start looking at numbers and if you say, well, I want to lose 6 pounds, maybe start asking yourself, well, what am I going to feel when I lose 6 pounds? Well, I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier. I want to be a healthy, fit person. This is the mindset, and I'm going to have that mindset. Well, what do I need to do? So if you push yourself just enough, so I'm going to start now tonight and I'm going to walk around Jackals. And that's going to push me. But maybe if I keep walking around Jackals for the next 6 weeks, then that's going to be too easy for me. So then I'm going to
2 laps
of Jackals or go somewhere else. So it needs to be just beyond our capabilities, but not too far beyond. Okay. So I don't know what goes on.
So when someone asked us last week about the motivation, that's kind of not our answer there. That's a point that your motivation should be within the parameters of the comfort zone where nothing grows and too far away.
Yeah. So if it's too far beyond your physical and mental capabilities, then you're not going to sustain it. You're only going to do it once or twice, and then you're going to say, well, I failed that again now, so I might not bother. Why bother? Sure, I failed. Whereas if it pushes you just enough, review it and keep reviewing it. Yeah. That's a good one.
Being into that self-analysis.
Yeah.
Being into that too.
So I suppose that's what John.
But they say then clearly, if you tick off the small goals, they'll add to one big goal. I think that's what you're trying to get there.
Yeah.
Instead of having the big goal is running a marathon in 6 months. But you can't go to first day and try and run the 26 miles.
Yeah.
You have to go run the 5 miles and then run the 6 miles.
So what keeps the habit going? So incentives will start the habit. So, but what keeps it going? How do you sustain it? So it's kind of identity then that sustains it, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to go for a run tonight and I'm going to feel good about myself. But how am I going to keep myself running is that I now identify as being a runner. So it's looking at that kind of thing. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about, I don't know if somebody else, I just want to ask you about, let's say, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and we'll say a lot of things are, even I think I was talking to Jonathan this morning, we'd say there's no competition. For example, myself and Jonathan, be it cycling or gym, whatever. It's always nice, I'd say, you'd enter a competition.
Yeah.
Or you get the idea of a competition in your head. That's not there now. Whereas I'd still consider myself to be motivated and I still train and I'm happy. So I can't remember. But I'm saying you talk to people even through work and you go, people might go a good week or a bad week or, fed up with it. And everyone is in that zone at the moment. Everyone is at home. You can hear everyone. So, I'm saying, and you might have people that you work with that are in worse situations. I'm saying, what could you say, kind of practical things that I could practice in the next week in front of me during this lockdown and stuff that would be a good exercise? I think I asked you there when you were kind of saying about the bad day, and you're not having a bad day, and analyse the day and break the day up. Yeah. So can you just give us kind of a small bit on that?
Yeah, I suppose I'm kind of a big believer that I really think we're here now, we're watching the news all the time, we're hearing about the first wave, the second wave, the third wave and this pandemic. But there's a mental health wave to this pandemic that is going to be far-reaching, and everyone, even if you're healthy, if you've strong mental health, there's no way it hasn't been affected in this last year.
Yeah,
So
totally
yeah,
agree with
to answer
that,
your
yeah.
question, I suppose one of the tips that I would say is just keep a log. Like, there's nothing wrong with keeping a notebook and writing a few bits down. So, checking in with yourself on a regular basis. What's my mood like? So again, like you say, I've had a really bad week all week. Okay, but what was Monday morning like? What was Monday afternoon like? What was Tuesday morning like? You might actually find that, okay, I've had a bad morning and a bad afternoon, and things didn't work out the way I wanted them to work out. But there was good things in the middle of all that as well.
Absolutely.
Or there was different types of things. It wasn't all, let's not use terms like bad and good. Maybe there was times when I felt a bit anxious, but there were other times when I felt quite calm. Maybe there were times when I felt very stressed because, I watched the news. But maybe there were other times when, I went for a walk and I met my neighbour, or I chatted to somebody in the shop and I felt okay. So try not to use such general terms about your own mood and your own mental health.
Yeah, I suppose I would say there, don't be painting the whole week as the word you said, not to use a bad week, when it might have been only 6 hours on one particular day, and I'm saying there's a chopping week.
Yeah.
That's kind of
and I suppose, look, to be fair, like, there are people that might have 4 or 5 bad days in a row, but then maybe you need to go and look for some help, or then maybe you need to do something. We all have a bad day. We will all have a good day or a bad day. Be compassionate to yourself. That's, try not to be so hard on
I
yourself.
listened to a bit, I think it's on Spotify in January, Niall Bresden, he had a thing. And that was the big message I got about it is he was genuine, he was geared towards January. He was like, January was a hard month. And this year was a particular hard month because of, we all know why. And he was just, one of the messages, just be nice to yourself. Like, don't be saying, geez, I'm really bad. Like, and I kind of said, geez, that was a very good point because you're your own worst critic in a way. And like, I found that was brilliant.
Yeah. So, self-compassion is a huge one. We talk a lot about self-care, don't we, and all that kind of stuff. But we're our own worst critic, really, aren't we, for everything,
Absolutely.
and that goes back to our thoughts again, So you miss a workout. I'm a terrible person, I should have gone there. Hey, I missed the workout. I'll go tomorrow. Because the first mistake, the first miss session, that's never the one. It's the repetition of it. So I miss going to the gym Monday night. That's not going to be my downfall. My downfall is if I miss it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then I'm too embarrassed to go back into the gym.
And they say, I'll start Monday now.
Yeah.
And they nearly give up. They might have missed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they say, I'll start Monday.
Yeah.
And they already give up Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you know what I mean?
Same with kind of healthy eating, isn't it, or healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I start Monday now. How many times have I said that?
And Monday morning's breakfast is fine, but the lunch wasn't so good. So let's just throw it all out the window.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a good thing, I've seen it there, you'd see it all in different kind of motivation things, wouldn't you? Something like, there's 80,000 minutes in a week, and, compared to I have 80,000 euro in the bank, and somebody takes 10 out of it, am I going to throw all the other 79,000
Yeah,
out the window?
I see that, yes.
So look at the same thing, okay, I might have a million thoughts in a day. 2 or 3 of them were bad. Do I have to throw the whole lot of the day out the window then?
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose we're very much inclined to focus on the negative, within ourselves and the negative.
But the time we're living in is very, it's overwhelming, really. Like, I'm coming from an aspect where I'm used to meeting 50 people a day and having to crack every class or even in school, and then you're reduced to meeting maybe only like 4 or 5 a day. You try to get to meet the mother and father.
Yeah.
And you see, like, any news, what's there to talk about at the same time?
Yeah.
You're like, over news.
Well, there's nothing big positive.
No.
Very interesting one as well that I would work on is the information diet. So, like, to think of it as going down to the supermarket. So you go down to the supermarket. Not everything on the supermarket shelves are for you. What's in the supermarket is for you to pick because it's specific to your needs. So you don't buy every piece of food you find in the supermarket. Same with the news. You turn on the news. Not every piece of that news is actually for you. So you don't have to buy into every piece. Like, there are people out there, and it's no fault of theirs. We're all doing it. We're constantly refreshing our news app. We're constantly reading the paper. Everything is in it. We're threat scanning. So we're scanning for all the bad news, all the danger, all the terrible things. We're never going to be out of this pandemic. It's going to go on forevermore. We'll never again cycle a race. We'll never again go to a concert. Just watch what you're watching, really. Be careful what you're letting in.
Yeah, you should kind of treat it like almost what you're eating.
Yeah.
What you're eating is what and in this kind of what you're absorbing.
So maybe go back to the old ways, like our parents had, where the news was on at 6 o'clock and We wouldn't get in the way of the news. But maybe that was a good way of doing it, whereas the news being in our pockets and we look at it all day, every day.
It's always negative.
Yeah, it's always
good
negative.
news doesn't sell, is that what they say?
Yeah.
The other thing I want to ask you is, I think you said to me during the week about everything's been cancelled. Can you give us just that? Because
So I suppose what's interesting is, okay, oh my God, like cycling race is cancelled. Everything is cancelled. I can't even, my big passion is going to see Westlife next August. Oh my God, Westlife is going to be out. What am I going to do? But let's just look at it like everything isn't cancelled. You know, I mean, the sunshine isn't cancelled. The daffodils aren't cancelled. And I know now I might sound a bit cliche, but raise your head when you go outside and look at what's out there. Because everything isn't cancelled. Some things might be. But you can still enjoy things. You know, so let's not look at it in terms of what's cancelled and what isn't. You know?
Right, so again, it's like the glass is half full or half empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there any kind of other things that are kind of, how would I say, like, important to have in your mind now in the current situation? Is there any other kind of...
Yeah, I suppose let's look at, again, facts. Let's look at acceptance. So, you know, acceptance is there's a pandemic and there's COVID. But what we're doing is, there's COVID, oh my God, like I can't meet my friends, I can't go out, I can't go anywhere, I mean, this is never going to be over, I'm never going to be able to meet my friends for drinking the pub, or let's just look at the facts here. This is what's happening today, it's not going to be happening forever.
Okay.
You know, so maybe learn a bit of kind of acceptance for the now and not keep predicting, I suppose, the future, really. You know, that would be the big one for me, really.
And then, so the other thing, so you have an article out now in the Duhallow.
Discover Duhallow, yeah.
I just sit there and I had it at home. So you're going to be kind of writing kind of bits on that for the next couple of weeks?
I don't know what I kind of hope. So maybe, you know,
you might give us an outlook there.
Let's look at it. Mental health is fashionable now, and I suppose I shouldn't be so dismissive. I don't mean to be flippant. Mental health is always important, and I suppose for me it's always been important because it's my job. And, you know, maybe mentally.
But it is. I think people, and obviously if you go way back, the stigma and the ashaminess of it in the past is definitely gone. Yeah. You could put your hand up and talk to your boss now and say, I'm not on a good week, and the boss said, fine, no bother. Whereas in the 70s, 80s, the 90s, it was a dark cloud. So, like, it is fashionable, and people are talking about it. And then the other one is you have an Instagram page, don't you, where you kind of post stuff that I think people should get a kind of look in.
Well, I suppose my big passion is CBT. That's what I work in. But I feel that CBT is something that we could all be using. So we all need to figure out what we're thinking, and we all need to figure out how that thinking is affecting how we're behaving in life. So I was kind of, I don't know, I just feel there's a lot of kind of inspirational, normal people in our lives, isn't there? You know, and then maybe we should use them and pull from them and be, I don't know, kind of an awful attention here now, but yeah, so CBT for all, it's on Instagram, and it's kind of bringing CBT to everyone because I think we could all do a bit of it. And we could all do with some of the techniques, I suppose, that we're using it.
So it's CBT for all?
For all, yeah.
I'll share it anyway underneath the video, so I definitely recommend it, yeah.
And then I suppose my last thing, because people do something on me, I'm the old Netflix, like, and there are other platforms for watching things. Anything you're kind of watching Netflix to share? I have a good one this week. Was Barry Mead was saying to me to watch Unforgotten, and I watched the first episode last night. Very good. Yeah. So I don't know if you get on the Unforgotten.
White House Farm. I'm actually not watching it on Netflix at the moment because I'm kind of a one-tracked person. I'm reading a very good book.
All right.
It's called Midnight Library by Matt Haig.
Is it a novel? Or?
Yeah, it's a novel, but it's very good.
Good.
And you know, I ask because I'm a bit one-tracked. I'm stuck in one thing and I can't move on.
Yeah, but if you read the book, it takes up time. You watched anything good this week, Donovan?
No, I actually have another Darter on, so DQ opens this week, so I'm watching that.
Is Winnie playing?
No, I got beast for round 6 next half. I'll have him on next week.
Right.
But one thing before Alice goes, I wanted to say to you is, how do you, in relation to this lockdown, and this is totally personal, maybe other people are relating, is in this lockdown, how would you start, how would you begin to build a positive routine? And what I mean by that is, like, I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and I say, I get up, right? I get up early one morning and then come around 11 o'clock. I'd be looking at the dog and be like, geez, what do we do? Like, you know what I mean? Because
you got up too early.
But, you know, honestly, but like, how it's something, and Jim would be giving out to me all the time, get up early now in the morning, but then I'd ask myself, what am I getting up for? And that sounds, maybe that is very, that's probably very first world problems, like, oh, sure.
No, I don't think it's everyone's problem at the moment.
It's something, I'll be honest, I'm struggling with. And then I'm in a vicious cycle, then I get up late and then can't get to sleep.
Yeah. And now you're already saying to yourself, when you just said there, it's a first world problem, so you're already hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You're thinking to yourself, well, I shouldn't be thinking like this. So let's look at it two ways. I suppose I would see it in two groups. There are the groups that are stuck at home all day, every day, but they're doing everything at home. So they're working at home, and then their leisure times at home. And one good tip that I came across is, if, say, just looking at you, Paddy, say you're working from home, so your office is at home, everything is at home, is do something that differentiates between work and off, even though you're in the same place. So it could be something simple like the furniture or a candle. So I'm going to light a candle when I start my day's work, and I'm going to blow that candle out when my day is over, and that means my day is over. It kind of is, I suppose, a little bit like replacing the commute.
What I actually started to do was, and I only started there kind of last 6 weeks, is I started to get dressed like I was going to work.
Right.
So I started putting on, not a shirt, we'll say a nice jumper with a collar, or thing, instead of working my tracksuit.
And then when you're working,
and then when I finish and I change back and I go to the garden and take the kids to the park, whatever.
Yeah.
And I know that's something.
This is 9 to 5, and this is, I don't know, 5 to 9. Do you know what I mean? For somebody who, like yourself, Jonica, who's at home and your work is not at home, I suppose it's having the routine is, why not start making a list of things? So, I'm going to sit down now on Sunday evening and I'm going to make a list of 10 different things I want to do throughout the week. Big jobs. And then I'm going to every day make a list of 5, we could say, small jobs.
Yeah.
Simple, like, I'm going to hoover the sitting room. I'm going to wash the wear. But tick them off as you do them. Because then you feel as if, well, okay, it's 11 o'clock.
It's productive. Yeah,
I'm looking at the jog and I'm saying, what am I going to do for the day? But actually here, look, this is the 3 things and I've done them. So, I suppose there's a thing like called the 5-minute rule, which works very well for me, is I don't feel like doing the housekeeping. God, I hate it. I don't really want to do it. But if I just do it for 5 minutes, I actually end up finishing it then.
There's one for a gym workout as well. Like,
is it?
5 minutes. Like, you run out to 30 seconds. I don't feel like I was cycling today. Put on your gear and go for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's good.
So the 5-minute rule, like, I'm not going to be hard on myself. I'm going to clean my kitchen for 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, if I really don't feel motivated to clean my kitchen, it's okay for me to leave the kitchen. You'll actually find an hour later or 2 hours later that your kitchen is spotless. You have it done and you feel good about yourself. Yeah. So I suppose 3 things, and it's in my new article, is where's your sense of achievement, where's your sense of pleasure, and then having connectedness. They're the 3 real kind of keys to getting through this pandemic. So achievement, maybe previously our achievement was winning the cycling race, doing the workout, going to work all day, getting the job we want. But maybe achievement could be the fact that I cleaned the wear today, or the garden is looking well, or
powerhouse concrete.
I washed the car, I did the shopping, And then the pleasure, like, so getting our pleasure, there's pleasure to be had in everything if we just look for it. You could have pleasure walking out into the garden, just looking at what's new there, or what wasn't there last week, what's there now that wasn't there last week. You could get pleasure by walking the dog. But if you're not looking for it, you might not find it.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah.
And then obviously connectedness is, okay, we're not allowed to visit our family, we're not allowed congregating places, but we can still say hello to the neighbour outside the fence, or we can still phone a friend, we can still join a Zoom class. There's connectedness always, but if we try and avoid it, we'll succeed. So make yourself connect.
And have you any tips on dealing with, what I mean is dealing with people like me? Because there's nothing, what I mean by that is, I know, Jim is very good for it, my parents are very good for it. They're like, why don't you do this? And sure, can't you do that? And why don't you do this? And no, I couldn't do that, no more to be. Do you know what I mean? They're 100% right. I could be doing that. I could be doing that. I could be doing it, but I just don't want to, do you know what I mean? I don't want to do anything, but then I give you out about it. It's a weird time, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it is, and it's acknowledging that. It is a weird time, and it is very hard on people. And again, I'm still talking about that mental health wave. Those of us who had wonderful, healthy mental health, there is nobody going to come out of this pandemic with perfect, intact mental health. We're all going to feel those things, that, our motivation to be affected, or our self-image, everything is going to be affected. But I suppose maybe the biggest part would be, why am I hard on myself? Let's not be hard on myself. What is it that you actually want to do during the day? Maybe there's things that you prefer to be doing. Maybe you could find a balance in and do some of what you want to do and some of what you're too old to do.
Okay, yeah.
It's all about balance, really.
It
You know,
is.
isn't it?
It is. Very happy. Paddy, any last questions? Will we have her?
No, just thanks for coming on. I've asked you
Thanks for having me.
lots
I
of
hope
questions, and we will have other questions and answers in a few weeks. I hope people might come back and ask us a few questions related to this podcast. Very good.
I hope it's okay. I don't know. I suppose I'm no expert in fitness now. Will I ever
No,
be?
but we enjoyed that.
And I suppose you can never be an expert in somebody's mental health because the only expert in your mental health is really you. But it's good to have some skill. Maybe
I know
to
you're
guide
very
people
knowledgeable on
into
your own
it.
fears. I found it you too. I was delighted to get you on this week because, like, some of the issues I was talking about, just last week, just as lockdown can get monotonous, is the word.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and you've good weeks, bad weeks, good days, bad days, which we're not using the word good or bad no anymore. But you know what I mean?
You just have to
I
roll
think
with it.
everyone, at some point, like you said, is in the same bubble.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. I'll just leave it there. Cheers for coming on. Thanks for listening, lads. We'll talk to you again.